In industrial applications, there are two kinds of plasmas which found wide applications. And they are quite substantially different in the way how they are sustained and what is the physics behind of their plasma. And those cases are low pressure plasmas and plasmas of high pressure, typically of atmospheric pressure. Both kinds of low and high pressure plasmas can be generated as non-thermal plasmas, where electron temperature is much higher than temperature of neutral species, but they also can be generated as thermal plasmas, where electron density is the same as the temperature of other species. What is important at low pressure, the electrons and ions have very few collisions. Those collisions just enough to sustain the plasma. And electrons are getting high energy from the electrical field, and only those few collisions they will ionize all other species, forming the discharge. But because of only few collisions, we can call this plasma collisionless plasma. That plasma will be dominated by diffusion processes. And important there that we can control precisely electron temperature, electron density, and we also can control the density of ions. And even more. Now let's consider we have a reactor. Inside of reactor there is a plasma. Electrons, because of their small mass, will go to the wall, will charge the wall, and they will form potential which will be negative in relation to the plasma. And so electrons will be repelled by Coulomb barrier. Because there is a charge on the walls, it will repel electrons, and density of electrons will gradually decrease in the region which we can call sheath, and near the wall, the density of electrons will be zero. But this is not the case for ions. Ions will be now attracted to the wall. Ions will get energy from the Coulomb forces. Ions will be accelerated to the wall, and we can define what will be the energy of the ions in the sheath. And the density, that energy we can precisely control. And we can control density of particles, of ions. We can control energy of the particles or ions. And so we can control ion flux and energy of that flux of particles. And that has numerical applications in technological field. And for that, what we can do, we can define reactor geometry, we can define the type of discharge which we generate, and so it will define the electrical field in the discharge. If we know the electrical field in the discharge, we can define electron density and electron temperature, or more general electron energy distribution function. By knowing atomic and molecular physics, we also can define ion density of positive ions and negative ions, and also density of excited states. And by knowing all of them, we can also define the flux of the particles to the surface and even direction of the flux to the surface. And what we can do by playing with electrical field, by playing with magnetic field in the plasma, we can achieve reactive ion etching, which can be possible to do at low pressure. And because now ions are coming to the wall where we can put the target, for instance, where we can put a semiconductor plate, ions are coming to the surface with specific velocity and in specific direction, we can reach anisotroping ion etching of the substrate with precisions of nanometer scale. And this is exactly how in semiconductor industry transistors are generated now, and many other electronic components are produced. The anisotropic etching is a specific application of low temperature and low pressure plasma, where plasma is dominated by diffusion and not by the collisions. So what will happen if we have collisions? So what will happen if pressure in the discharge is increasing? The number of collisions will increase. That would lead to thermalization of the discharge and the constriction. So what would happen if we first will have, for instance, a coronal discharge, which is a plasma or diffuse plasma in an interelectrode gap. When we increase the pressure, that plasma will transfer to glow discharge and then to thermal arc. And with this thermal arc, there will be no way that ions can reach high energy, because ions will collide with electrons, ions will collide with other particles, with neutrals, ions will collide with other charged particles. And ion-free path at pressure of about 1 millibar is just about 1 micrometer, and which is much smaller than sheath thickness. So plasma is dominated by recombination at atmospheric pressure, and ions are very close to thermalization at atmospheric pressure. and they will not have enough energy to age substrate, and more important, they will not have a velocity which is defining direction of ions towards the surface. They will have a random velocity distribution, and so anisotropic etching or ion etching only possible to achieve at low pressure plasmas and not at atmospheric pressure plasmas. On the other side, atmospheric pressure plasmas have numerical applications, and many of them are related to the fact that those kind of plasmas are important to produce reactive chemical species, and because of that, non-thermal plasmas at atmospheric pressure as well as thermal plasmas at atmospheric pressure can be used to drive a chemistry. And this will be exactly the topic of our next lecture, which will be focused on the electrification of the chemical industry.